Yo, what's good?
What's good?
How you feeling
Check,
today,
check.
man?
I'm feeling all right. Are we on? We live and at 5 in this motherfucker?
Yeah, we should be live and direct, man.
All right. We should probably, I guess, tell people what the hell we doing.
Yeah, probably. That's a good idea. Usually, you know, you don't want people to try to figure out what you're doing. You kind of want to give them a precursor or whatnot.
So basically, this is the Camo Crew podcast. We are here talking about all kinds of subjects from hip hop, movies, gaming, basically whatever we feel like is interesting to us and that may interest y'all. I'm Legion D Wise. This the homie Mr. White over here in the corner, to the right of me.
What's good?
And that's what it is. If you're seeing this for the first time, and you'll have to excuse the roughness, we are just starting. It's our first podcast, but we definitely want to bring y'all more. And we got some list of subjects here we want to talk about. And I'm gonna just turn it over to Mr. White. What's going on?
Yo, man. I'm definitely enjoying this. This will be our first podcast, of course. So, like we said, we're gonna try to go over a few ideas or things that we're interested in right now that we talk about and discuss. You know, we do music and we also have a label and we have a brand that we're trying to build. So it's interesting to see what's going on in the culture and, you know, to analyze it, to actually get an understanding of where everything is going and how you can continue to be whoever you are in the music and for whatever that means for you. So Legion, what, you know, we were talking about kind of the new wave of rap, or, you know, what people consider the new wave. I'm not gonna necessarily call it mumble rap or melodic R&B or anything like that, but people say that that's where the music is going. I mean, what's your positions or feelings on that?
My personal position after looking at everything that's been going on, I believe that it doesn't exist. I believe what we're looking at right now is underground rap, right? Changing and having another style being brought into underground rap. But I think the idea that's being perpetuated is that that's the new thing to do. Like, you can't make a hit or a popular song that isn't in the Migos style or a Lil Yachty or a Lil Uzi style. And I think it's been disproven, you know, with this new Eminem track that just dropped. You know what I mean? However you feel about that track, because, I mean, I like it for certain reasons, but then I don't like it for others. But him dropping that and it being the type of song that it is and him just straight being lyrical on it and getting the attention that it got over other situations is very telling. You know, like it sort of disproves the idea that that's the new popular music, right? Like, I think,
or even more so that you have to do that or make that type of sound and become popular, because it's okay to embrace the new sound of music, but that doesn't mean that you have to shun what has been made before. And I think you still hear, like, I think we talked about the popularity of songs that aren't melodic or mumble rap, or we talked about the FMCs being harder than the MCs nowadays. So, like, you got a song like Bodak Yellow, ain't no auto-tune on there. Ain't no mumbling in there. She barring up. She barring. Like, I don't care what nobody's saying. That's rapping. That's what rapping is supposed to be. And for anybody who's like, what is rap all about and where is it going? How is it gonna sustain? Is it changing? You know, are we gonna stay in this? It's like, yes, we have newer sounds, right? Like, rock music or whatnot. And now we're starting to have subgenres. But people still want to hear somebody spit bars over a hard ass beat. And
yeah, and have a cool flow with it and stuff. And the thing about it is, man, like, we're in a situation right now where there are lyrical people killing the game right now still. And I think what it is there's a lot of controversy surrounding other individuals. You know what I'm saying? You've got Cardi B, yeah, like she was wrecking on that song, you know, and she is lyrical. And I look at it like this. I look back at the people that we used to say were whack, like where it was general consensus from hip hop heads that this dude was whack, like a 2 Chainz, Chingy. You remember Chingy? You know what I'm saying?
I remember.
A couple other cats. You know, people, hip hop heads don't listen to no fucking Chingy. Them dudes seem like lyrical beasts compared to a lot of these cats. Like let's be real. Okay. I listen to a Chingy song.
Lyrical beasts, but I mean, no, I do agree that there was a certain subset or standard or a level of what people would have accepted back then versus what they accept now. And I think it's like, of course, when you have a music where people are in search of originality, you're going to get a lot of diverse sounds coming through it, to the point where, and it's still young, you know, you still got hip hop not even really being around for, you know, but a few decades. So it's like, you got a situation where the evolution of the music is happening faster than the people who are listening to it. It's just like the technology age. And it's funny that rap is coming up in the technology age, so it's probably fusing and changing faster than any other music that has existed, you know, in that sense.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about it is, the argument is never made that, you know, that style of music is actually good, right? Like trap music. And now trap music is sort of evolving into something slightly different and starting to change. But that whole subset of cats, that's good, but it's cats that actually can't even do that style well, right? Yeah. Like, because you look at the people who sort of created that style, like the Chief Keefs, even Amigos are more like in pocket than a lot of these cats, right? Like, and they got a little bit more to say.
Yeah, they not mumble rappers at all, in my opinion. I mean, they have a unique style that a lot of people are trying to copy, and it makes sense, right? I think it's also the search for a hit. I mean, you got these labels that are driving the music, and a lot of the young people get confused, in my opinion, because they hear what's on the radio and they're like, well, that's how I'm gonna reach hit potential if I make a Designer Pana or a Uzi Vert EXO Tour Life, or okay, yeah, that's cool, that's popping. Well, if you could do that, if you could make that one song, but that doesn't mean that one very unique song is the future of what the sound overall of hip hop is gonna be. People still gonna go back to the grassroots, and once again, like I said, drop some bars over a hot ass beat, and people gonna respect that.
And you know, I'll give you a good example. Down here, I'm from Texas. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Austin, but the Houston sound had got so big down here that you literally couldn't make any other type of music, no matter what part of Texas you were from, that didn't sound like that. So if you didn't rap like a Fat Pat or a Slim Thug, or, you know, haters want to know who you are when I'm coming down like a superstar, you weren't talking about like your rims and your grill, cats was not trying to hear you. Like, if you didn't sound like Screw, strong movement down here that it just like stifled a whole lot of people, to the point to where, like, when the trend went away, because it was a short period of time, to where like the game was actually acknowledging what Houston was doing and really putting a spotlight on what they was doing. So when that trend changed, it was like cats had been doing that for so long, you couldn't transition over to nothing else. Like you had been conditioned in your mind to believe that screw style was what was hot, and that you couldn't get on with nothing else down here.
Well, I think a lot of people, I guess, confuse style of production and style of artist, right? I think there has also been a perception that only a auto-tune mumble type rapper can get on a trap beat. I've felt like that has always kind of been the thing. Like, if you ain't talking about drugs, hoes, or whatever the cliche dumb shit, you can't get on the beat that's hard like that. And it's like, but no, why not? Why can't I actually use some lyricism over good production? Like, good production is good production. It doesn't matter if it's trap or hip hop or soul or R&B. So it's like, I think that's what's really gonna change the sound, where you have people coming with more developed and detailed content over this amazing production, because the production jumped higher and faster than some of these artists, and now you're starting to see some of the artists that can actually match the lyrical content to the quality of the production, and it's coming up with something even more exciting than what was there before, in my opinion.
I would like to hear some of the more faster paced lyrical guys on some of these new type of beats, because like a Tech Nine, a Twista, and I mean Tech Nine is kind of fucked with the style a little bit, but like, it seemed to me that those rappers would translate real well to the new style. Like, I don't understand why Bone ain't got on some hard trap shit and done some dark harmonic Bone Thugs type shit, because a lot of these cat styles are like a derivative of the Twisters, the 8-Ball MJGs, the 3 6 Mafias, the Bone Thugs. Like, you can hear a little bit of all of them artists in what these cats are doing, but just in a very subdued, watered down type way. Like, they've latched on to one aspect of those styles, whatever it may be, and that's their style. Like, that's all they do. Whereas you would have Twista, who has several different, cadences that he would use on his verses, and one artist might now take one of those cadences that he would use briefly, and that would be their whole style, right? Same thing with 3 6 Mafia, you got cats.
You had a whole group of artists that were using various styles that people would consider them simplistic or whatnot, but they were developed and they were their own. Like, they were, even in their own realm, they were all very good styles. Like Project Pat from Juicy J, from Lord Infamous, from DJ. Everybody had a different sound. Country Black, everybody had a different sound on there. They were all...
Well, I felt like Gangsta Boo, Lord Infamous, they were the most lyrical. Like, they could kind of tongue twist, and they would carry the song a lot of times, you know what I'm saying? Like, the hardest parts in the song would be when they would come on, and even DJ Paul sometimes had a little tongue twister style. Like, I always preferred DJ Paul rapping over Juicy J. I felt like Juicy J was probably the simplest.
He was still young though too. He evolved into, like, we talk about artists who kind of work in groups and then take all of that influence and become maybe a solo star due to that, and use the influence from the other artists that they kind of grew up around. I think that's something that happens a lot. You can't get away from music without having some type of influence.
Right. And then, I mean, you could probably take each one of the original 6 members of 3 6 Mafia and compare them to a new wave rapper. Like, you could say Cardi B is like a Gangsta Boo. You could say cats like Puya, Fat Nick, they're more like Lord Infamous. You could say like what's so boy in the Kodak Black. You could say he's like a Crunchy Black or like a Juicy J kind of. You know what I'm saying? DJ Paul, more like I don't know, kind of Extentacion-ish a little. You know, like you could look at all these artists.
I guess that would be a stretch, but I could kind of see that. I could kind of see that in terms of, yes, you do see a heavy influence from that music, from drug culture style music, if you want to call it that. You know what I'm saying? Because 3 6 was definitely, you know, heavy on that end. You know, and so yes, people do want to have you know, that persona, that dark persona. I think that's something that is proliferated across everything. It doesn't matter if it's hip hop or R&B or whatever. It's a lot of music getting a little darker in terms of the sound, but I think that does bring and put a space for people to put stories and real life stuff on this music. You know, I'm excited
I think that's
for that.
the shit that resonates
more for
people.
the Kendricks, obviously, because we talk about, yes, people could act like they selling CDs, but there are only a few people that are actually selling CDs, selling music, getting consistent. Most of these other people are just celebrities and personalities, so it's not like their music is compelling. They're compelling, which is cool. You know, it's not.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I had actually pulled up some info that we could look at about this, and I was kind of surprised from Double XL, and these are the 22 biggest first week sales of 2017 so far. And so at the top of the list, we got a Drake album. He sold 505,000 total album equivalent units.
What's this for 2017?
Yeah, so far. He sold 257,000 streaming equivalent units and 225,000 traditional sales.
Okay.
Under him is Kendrick Lamar, with 600,000. Then Jay-Z. Logic is under Jay-Z.
Logic, that makes sense.
Okay. And then Big Sean is on here.
Big Sean is always toes a lot. He's trying to be lyrical. I'm not, you know.
He's like lyrical. He got a lyrical style.
He's trying to be lyrical. No, I mean, I'm not saying he got a song with Eminem, so Eminem respects him. So I don't have that. So.
But again, I wasn't a huge Big Sean fan. But again, he comes across as a lyrical beast compared to some of these cats.
Yeah, I mean,
I always thought Big Sean kind of sounded like Drake.
Well, I think Big Sean is always in that space where he carved it out for himself and he made himself really unique. But I think it frustrates a lot of people because he's one of those artists that they're like, man, you know, he is great and prolific, but why? You know, and I think it's because he's earnest. He's being himself, and he hasn't really changed a lot in terms of trying to flow with this or that. He makes music that he thinks is good and he's comfortable with, and he tries to be lyrical. I think he's literally writing and penning that stuff because he thinks he's the wittiest dude in the world, and that's a lyrical rapper. Like, I mean,
and I
hits or not, it doesn't matter because he's selling records and it's hitting. It is hitting. Whether, you know what I'm saying, it's because like I say, I like his music. I don't like every song, but I go back to his music before I go back to a lot of the newer artists where I'm like, okay, that song is cool, but that's the only song you really got. You know, Big Sean got a basket full of hits over the years.
I mean, I'll rock it. The next cat is DJ Khaled, then Future, then you got the Migos.
Okay.
So way down here on the list
and
now, we
Future
got
is the father of a lot of that, you know, melodic dark rap trap R&B style. So I don't care who's using that style. I'm like, okay, you sound like Future for the most part. It's okay if you accept that though. If you accept that you sound like Future, then it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you like we talk about the influences. You might know that you sound like Future, or you might know that you sound like Drake. That's fine, you know, as long as you're accepting that's the mode that you falling into. Because there's gonna be a lot of artists that have similar sounds. Like, you know, you didn't think in the 80s or the 70s it wasn't bands that had the, you know, sometimes you can't tell some of them soul bands apart. The way they come on, you'd be like, who? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there definitely was a movement back then, especially to stay in pocket with certain styles of music. Yeah, but after the Migos, you got Lil Uzi.
Okay, Uzi.
Some guy named Hendrix. I'm gonna confess, I ain't never heard of this dude.
Who?
Hendrix is spelled HNDRXX. I ain't never heard of this guy. But and then 2 Chainz is on here. Pretty Girls Like Trap Music.
That was a hard record. I like that.
You know, Tyler the Creator, Rick Ross. So basically, the controversial rappers, the Instagram rappers, the DJ Academics crowd. I'm not trying to call them out or anything. I'm just saying like that audience where, you know, we're meant to believe that that's sort of the new wave. Like factually, what we seeing is that that's not true. Like all them cats that I named off, with the exception of a few of them, are super lyrical dudes and way more creative and not doing that style.
But my thing is are they trying to bring well-developed, well thought out content to the table? Even Future is not a throwaway artist. Like, if you listen to Future music seriously, like not like, oh, he just sound like he high all the time. If you actually ingest in the words that he's saying a lot of detailed, real things, and he's very introspective in talking about his problems and what he's been through and trying to, you know, it's not just as dumb as it sounds, right, initially, right? Like, I think a lot of people hear that music and they like, oh, that's just that raunchy trap rap shit, and it's like, no, I mean,
I don't know, man. I liked a lot of Future songs when he first came out.
Yeah.
I also like Kevin Gates. I feel like those two kind of are the fathers of what became the auto-tune mumble rap thing. Because, I mean, Kevin Gates had a kind of a squirrely voice when him singing, like, and...
Well, he's coming up, I would say he's coming up as a newer artist that's a little older, probably rolling in some different circles because he's older, but I don't know. He's lyrical. I would say more so he's just not as big of an artist, but the biggest artists are still the artists with the best detailed content. 2 Chainz is trying to be lyrical in a way where it's not like he's trying to be lyrical like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and write this detailed stuff, but he's like, I'm trying to say something that's intelligible with a high level of impact. That's what being lyrical is to me. It's not necessarily because you got the most syllables. It's because you're saying something that hits home and has a great point. And if you put some wordplay and some colorful ad-libs and whatnot in there to make it more musical, that's the fun to it, right? Like, you know, you're not just listening to an Eminem song because he can spit all these syllables. It's the way that he's saying it. It's the personalities that he's taking on. You know, he's switching 2, 3, 4 personalities in a track. It's like, that's what makes it cool. It's not just because...
And he was the king of the ad-libs back in it. He really had motherfuckers... He started motherfuckers making noises on the track. Because I remember I used to record people around that time. And cats would want to come in there, they lay their vocals, everything would sound good. And then it'd be like, let me get in there and be like, psh, psh, psh. And I'm like, you ain't got to make the sound effect, bro. Like, but, I mean, and people started doing it. Like, now people is wow, wow, and all this on the track and stuff. And you know, whatever. But a lot of cats
production,
like
yeah.
the main content is in pocket and it's good. You know,
Yeah, that's
I
what
think
people
get real
really.
confused.
That's what people get comfortable with and enjoy over time. Like, yeah, you can have a few offshoots of artists that are really unique. That's the problem with, you know, and like I say, it's okay to fall into a mode, but that's the problem with falling into a mode. If you're gonna end up being a Future type artist or a Uzi Vert type artist, how long you got? If you end up being a Yachty type artist, how long you got? How long you got in the game? Maybe you only got a couple years. Maybe they're right. Maybe that. But I think some of those artists do have talent beyond that, where they could develop something where, you know. And we're not talking about the top level artists that are unique. We're saying that there's the sound has become a homogenous, where a lot of people are following artists that are celebrity popular and not artists that are actually making good music and selling records. Because if everybody was following those top 10 people that you said, in a way, they probably would be making better music, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, most of those people
be more
music
successful.
is undeniably good. I would say some people are on the fence about Future, like, but the Jay-Z's, the Kendrick Lamar's, like those cats, undeniably people across the board dig their music. They have a whole huge fan base that's bigger than even the large fan bases that we looking at of like a little Uzi Vert, XXXTentacion. Like XXXTentacion fan base, like they damn near riot if he doesn't show up for a concert, shit like that. But I mean, when you talking about real big success, you got cats out here performing for stadiums and shit. Like even Kanye, like Kanye's shows was retarded. Like he had that floating stage and all these motherfuckers reaching up.
I mean, but I think in a lot of ways, I mean, as much as people want to see that, the appeal of it is a little different for people who are coming at the art from a street perspective, right? Like, I mean, and they're thinking that maybe in a lot of ways to fit in with where they at right now, they have to be a street style artist in some way. Like, you got to be hard body, you got to be tough. And that is a concept in hip hop, but I don't know, because
Drake music was soft as hell. He's like when you listen to the radio,
he's unapologetically soft too, where he like, no, I'm gonna keep making these cuts for the ladies. I don't care what y'all say.
Like he's like, I'm in my feelings. Like that's the next title of Drake album should be just I'm in my feelings. Drake's new project, In My Feelings. He just crying in the shower.
Man, he ain't gonna never do a song with you, bro. You said he crying in the shower, man. He ain't got no Drake features. He gonna be out the game like Meek, man.
Me and Drake will make a great song.
Meek, man.
Me and Drake will make a great song. I'm not saying that he's soft in general, but the music he know he making soft music for the ladies, you know. But hey, like in the club, what you want is for bitches to shake their ass, right? Like, or
be grooving and having a good time. So yeah, you gonna put that Drake on, or you gonna put on whatever music, and that's why I respected Drake, obviously, for what he's been able to do, just on both sides, right? Like, to be able to get people to perceive him as a ladies' man, and also to get people to be able to perceive him as a gangster. Like, he's done well at both.
And he was Wheelchair Jimmy, so
yeah, I didn't know about it. Look, no, okay, this is how I found out about Drake. This is some crazy shit. This is how I found about it. I didn't know shit about Drake. Don't listen to Drake. I heard about the You the Best song, I think.
Right.
And I was working at fucking Jimmy John's making sandwiches. And some girl started working up there. And I gave her a ride home from work. And this Drake song came on the radio, and she was like freaking out and was like, I love Drake so much. This is my husband. You know, I've been watching him since yada 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 when he was in the wheelchair and he was Jimmy, and I'm like, what? And that was like right around when that "You the Best" track dropped. I was listening to it. I was like, that's a cool track. I mean, it wasn't. I was unassuming. It was unassuming. I didn't know he was about to change the game at that point in terms of
right.
He, did the whole I popped up off a mixtape. Even though it was definitely great marketing. But come on, you Lil Wayne's buddy. Lil Wayne is the hottest side in the game. You didn't just get rich off a mixtape like randomly. It wasn't like, and then you were already a Disney star, so you were rubbing elbows with famous people to the point where
he definitely had some ends there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and there ain't nothing wrong with it. I ain't hating on him, you know what I'm saying? I just obviously look at it like everybody's path is different, and he was able to take that and use it to his benefit to kind of maximize that development. And no.
I would just say the moral of his story would probably be
everybody ain't following his path.
My bad. I would say the moral of the story would probably be, if you were artist starting out, or you've been doing this for a while and you want to continue but you confused as to what direction to take, you shouldn't feel compelled to do anything but you. Right, like whatever you feel the most is what you should do. Like, so if you feel the trap style, if you feel the melodic style, you should just do it. But you should, whatever you do, put the maximum amount of effort into it. Like, try to make compelling music, because the whole problem with a lot of this music and the complaints that a lot of people have, it's simply just a lack of effort. When you talk about lyricism, when you talk about writing, people are trying to go hard. Like, there's people where that shit comes natural. And I think we've heard the tall tale legends for so long. Jay-Z don't write, Lil Wayne don't write, T.I. stopped writing, and all this type of shit. And to the point to where cats just felt like they could hop in the studio and just do whatever and make it happen. But I honestly feel like the cats that put in the most effort, that no matter what style you're doing, try to make that shit layered, and it doesn't have to be overly complex, but it at least have, some just some semblance of effort that you putting into it. Yeah. Like, I think that's the direction people need to move for hip hop to continue to thrive, because otherwise there's not much of a future for hip hop, because you're just making disposable music, and if everybody continues to make disposable music, eventually hip hop itself will become disposable.
I think the new wave is always determined by the artists that are able to stay on the longest. So any artist, like Migos just said the other day, they want to be around for another 20 years. So they the new wave. And if they the new wave, they not mumble rappers. They got bars over there. Especially especially Takeoff, where people be trying to drag. He's not as exciting, and his personality ain't as enigmatic. He's so much of a straight shooter that people miss him. Offset kind of known as the gangster of the crew and be going to jail and all of that. And Takeoff is kind of your straight man, but he rapped faster than both of them, and he ain't got that many hooks. I think that's his issue. Offset and Quavo always got the hooks, because they the hook man. Be like, sometimes that's how it go. You know what I'm saying? Hooks are very important. Choruses are important. Like, anybody who's trying to do music, make sure you focusing on that for sure. But Nah, I mean, if they the ones that's gonna stay in the game, then they the ones that are gonna continue to be the trendsetters. You know, because if you fall off, you can't continue to set a trend. Your trend is dead.
So, since we're speaking on the Migos, one of the topics that I wanted to discuss was the Migos song with Cardi B and Nicki Minaj.
Oh,
right,
that song.
Yes, where they talking shit about each other on the track, and then people they acting real passive aggressive about it. But like, first of all, my question to you would be: did you enjoy the song as a whole? Who do you think went harder, Nicki Minaj or Cardi B? And what is your opinion of the beef in general?
All right. Well, let me start by saying that, like with all classic early stage beefs, it's not a beef yet. There's no confirmed beef by either party. There's been no beef sighting.
These ladies, that's how they do.
Okay, but I just want to start there. But obviously, when you hear a Migos song with two women that have been having some complications sandwiched right in between of it, it is a bit odd. It seems a bit contrived. Sounds like a marketing stunt to me, but I listened to them. Okay. You know, we talked about it. We talked about how they didn't really sound organic there, and that they were like, if it was just a straight Migos song, it'd probably been better. But the way they were rapping was kind of better than the Migos, or just like more lyrical, and it just seemed like they were just doing something different than what the song was asking for. It wasn't like they was, oh, I'm on this Migos track, let me be in pocket with the Migos. This is like, oh, I'm on this Migos track, I'm about to bar somebody out.
Yeah, I'm finna smash, like Cardi B was like, I'm on the Migos track and I'm finna smash Nicki Minaj. Okay,
so she goes hard. I agree. Nicki went hard too, but for whatever reason, she did some Kendrick Lamar control type shit. She started switching voices, and I felt like her verse was a little bit longer. I may be wrong. I might have to go back and do a time scale on that, but I felt like for whatever reason, Nicki had like maybe 24 bars and Cardi had like 16, and Nicki just seemed a little bit more aggressive. Like maybe she was ready to box her. I don't know. That's just what, you know, Cardi B was a bit more nonchalant. So I would say, not saying that I'm just going to get around to Nicki for that, but I felt like she was trying to go harder. You know what I'm saying? We talk about the trying to be lyrical aspect, and that's important, right? Like in a rap beef, I would like to see them barred out. I mean, from what I hear from both of them, it'd be a very interesting continuation of what good actual rap beef is. That's real. You know what I'm saying? So if we talk about what rap beef should be, no, it shouldn't be XXXTentacion and the Migos pulling up on each other and having some brawl or scuffle or all of that. Like, it shouldn't be people getting their cars shot up, because that ain't. If 9 times out of 10, when those physical altercations didn't come play, that ain't got nothing to do with music no more. That's not music. I mean, what's happening between Nicki and Cardi B, that's music. They had a few words, but I don't think they have any personal vendettas against each other. I don't think they've had anything. Okay, you could be like, oh, maybe Cardi B messing up Nicki check or whatever, but I don't know. If anything, she helping her prolong her check, because
I feel like it's gonna stifle both of them in the end, though.
What'd you say? It's gonna stifle both of them.
I think it's gonna stifle both of them in the end, because
if they keep it up, if they don't let it die out, I think it's the same as in Parent. Like, I think it's talking about, or like the Remy Ma Nicki beef that went on too long, so maybe that was and that, I think that actually did take Nicki out the pocket a bit, and so that made her vulnerable to this Cardi B situation, and so I think she should engage it, but she can't let it linger, and she gotta drop some heat. But I mean, she not lacking, right? Like, she's been in the game for a long time. She just had that hit in the top 10. It was like top 5. It was that song with Yo Gotti. So it's not like she ain't eating. She's still eating. And she was at the BET Awards or something, so she's eating. But
I agree.
Cardi B just dropped a hot song, so it's gonna have to be. She's the challenger. Let's be clear. You know what I'm saying? She's not the champion. She's the challenger. So that's where it's at right now, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? She has to, no matter how much success she getting with this one track, if she ends up being designer with Panda, Nicki Minaj still wins.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems to me, my thoughts on the beef are basically, I think Nicki Minaj did probably do a better job on the verse, just because it did seem like she had more time. She was more direct about it. I feel like from the sound of the verse, seemed like Nicki heard the song after Cardi B verse was on there, because Cardi B's not really, she kind of talking shit, but not really as direct as Nicki Minaj.
I mean, she's not. I wouldn't call her direct shit talker in general. Like, I mean, like I said, it seems like it's been real subtle with her. Even although she got the Bodak Yellow song that's tough, it's general. It's all general. She's not shooting that note. She's not shooting direct. And I think that Nicki is more prone to shooting direct with her metaphors. That's how she gets down at this point again.
As far as the beef as a whole, I think it's pointless. I think a good point has been brought up that this shit doesn't happen in other styles, and if they weren't chicks, it wouldn't even be a big deal, because the problem is that they're probably the most prominent female MCs right now, and the most notable at the moment. And so instead of it being a good thing for them to get on the track together, they've been pitted against each other from the start, right? Like,
I mean, but such is life. I mean, we talk about that. I mean, this circles. It's a circular conversation. It comes back to the beef culture. It comes back to the conflict. It comes back to breeding conflict inside of the community versus taking that conflict elsewhere, right? Like, we should be beefing with the rock stars or whatever who we want to beef with outside. Or we should be beefing with the basketball.
I'm cool with the rock stars.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, why is everything...
Let's just clarify.
Why is there such a cannibalism? Why is there such a internal fire that burns us specifically? It's not burning it or producing.
It's the media, man. The media drives a lot of that shit.
Well, but the thing is, we are the media now, and that's the truth. I mean, when you see the situations that are going down, who's publicizing this stuff? Who's talking about it? It's the people who are getting into these situations. They're on Snapchat or Instagram live story. Man, I just got into this, and they are creating the media. They're creating the fanfare and the desire for it, because media is changing. Nobody believes mainstream media. But
when you hear some shit out of the artist's mouth, like they on camera talking about what the fuck happened, then yeah, like, I guess when you put yourself out there in that aspect, you can't really be mad when people start making memes about you, ridiculing you, all this type of shit, because a lot of these situations would not be escalated if people just didn't talk about it.
Yeah,
you know, sometimes shit gets so bad to where they have to come out and say something, but most times a lot of these situations, like the XXXTentacion Migos situation you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, but see, we talk about, okay, they doing these things and then end up being illegal issues too, though. You know, like X has a case that's coming up, and it's like it's major news, obviously, but yeah, I mean, we just as brothers, as people of this music community, we need to focus on the music and make waves and headlines without defecating and destroying each other. Like, we really should be doing things to uplift each other. And like you say, it shouldn't have been a Cardi B versus Nicki situation from the jump. But don't get me wrong, maybe she does have a legitimate beef. Maybe she has a reason to be like, maybe Nicki Minaj didn't want to give her no play or mess with her early on. A lot of times that's what happens, right? People get some success and they get to meeting the people that they thought was their idols, and they end up not necessarily being the people that they expect, or they may not care for what you're trying to do, and that's not their job to care. But if you feel like that's wrong and you feel like it's unjust, then yeah, you should speak out on it. You should be, almost J. Cole-esque, where J. Cole made it seem like he made Jay-Z sign him because he was the premier lyrical and new age hip-hop MC. He's writing songs about it where, like, he worried about letting Nas down and stuff like that. You're like, he's definitely somebody who believes in that effort. And it's like, yeah, you should feel like that. You should sometimes feel like if somebody shuts a door on you, they were wrong for shutting that door because they're misjudging you and they're not really giving you a chance and they have a bias. And
well, everybody goes through that. I think the people who have a sustained career are the ones that rise above that are able to, because everybody has those people, and you can't necessarily. I see what you're saying, and I can see the mentality where that would come from, where you come out, you meet somebody that you had a lot of respect for, and they kind of shade you, like almost on some shit where you're like, man, why is you shading me?
Especially if because she was, you gotta think about it. Cardi B is what, former reality TV star, Love and Hip Hop or whatever. I forgot who she was previously dating or whatever, or what her pedigree is or where she came from. But she seems like she has some sense, obviously, to get her to that point in life. You don't get on a major TV show just randomly. It had to be by some influence and some chance. And it seems like she also was building her own career. Whether or not she used to be a private dancer previously, it doesn't matter, because that's a new wave job anyway for these women who are getting into entertainment, because entertainment is entertainment. I don't care if it's women, booze, or basketball. It doesn't matter, or music. We're in the entertainment business. So I think for her, maybe she was thinking she had some rub and was maybe reaching out. I don't know. This is unconfirmed, but this is sometimes, I think, what a lot of artists go through in terms of beef. They get out there and they think that these people are gonna have some type of anything for them. They don't, and that's not the case, right? Like, and that's where a lot of petty beefs come from. And I mean, that's why
I would be grateful as a newer artist coming into the game and getting any success, knowing how hard it is. I would be grateful that anybody fucked with me, and if somebody that was already on was like, I'm not really fucking with this person, I would not perpetuate that beef by then lashing out, right? Because then you open the door for to occur, and a lot of times it's gone either way, right? Like yeah, the new cat destroys the old cat, or the old cat come back and just be like, and just spirit bomb the whole fucking.
But I also look at it as a situation where anytime you have, in our generation, we have artists like a 50 Cent that come up to strictly off beef, just straight up. That was his MO out the gate. Had a song, forgot the song. But I think on that Power of the Dollar where he dissed everybody, basically.
Oh, How to Rob a Nigga.
Yeah, How to Rob a Nigga. Exactly. All right. So when you got artists taking that angle, right, and getting success with it, kind of the brute force method, I think you will see other artists coming from that same pedigree, right? Where is she from? NY?
She's from NY, yeah. Yeah, they both from NY. And then Eminem also came up on that.
Yeah.
A lot of his music, he was calling out a lot of underground rappers.
Whoever, he didn't really care if anybody. He was picking out rock stars. That's what I was saying, you know, like. But it was more interesting when he was doing that than us just talking about we're gonna pull up and kill each other and we live a block over. Like, that's not interesting. When two artists are talking like that, and then or two Memphis artists or two Chicago artists talking about killing each other, like, that's not interesting to me. That's not rap beef. That's life and death, and we should not engage in it. We shouldn't look at, and I think that's why a lot of people get obviously mad at academics. We shouldn't look at those types of beefs as rap beef. That ain't got shit to do with rap.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, that we are sort of perpetuating a situation where we're creating violent environments for ourselves, right? Like, to where now, you know, you always have to worry about violence with rap in some circles.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's like, okay, well, you look at music like hardcore or punk or fucking death metal or some shit. People don't necessarily be dying in these concerts and shit like that. This music has been able to, you know what I'm saying, like that. You know what I'm saying? That's
the mosh pit, like motherfuckers mosh and will thrash each other around, but then,
you
like,
might be fucked up, but you get over it, you let it go, and you tell another day. I mean, it's the type of music that you're into, so you were expecting that, right? But it's like, I think
and it's also a mosh pit situation. Like, I know for a fact, like, if they knock you on the ground, like, motherfuckers will help you up, like, unless it's some old crazy shit going on, like, there's camaraderie there, you know.
And I think that scene and sound is coming back, and it has always been there, you know. If you want to talk about through the years with, like, the MOP shit, or like when Crunk came out, like, there's always been that but we knew when we was in a club throwing bows and shit, it wasn't like, I wasn't trying to, I mean, I might have fucked somebody up once or twice, but I wasn't trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, we were just rowdy, we were just rough, and it was cool. It's okay to get that aggression out and let it go there and go home and be peaceful or whatever. But it's a situation where now it's not turning up in the club and just getting rowdy hardcore. It's like, no, like, I'm literally looking for trouble and I want a problem. I'm around a whole bunch of people that I don't really get along with, and I'm looking for problems. And it's like, that's not exactly what this about, in my opinion. Like, I think the proliferation of that idea is retarded. Like, you know, I mean, don't go out here looking for trouble and go out to this or create an environment for yourself that's so deadly and dangerous where you can't even live your life. Like, that's
right. And then a lot of these cats don't have a profound idea or anything profound about them, to where, like, you look at like a Tupac. Okay, Tupac was involved in a lot of incidents and shit, but at the same time, you could tell at his core he was a profound individual that was, at least at some point, trying to promote positivity, and his ultimate goal, you always could tell, was not to be known as a criminal, right? Like,
not early on, at least. I mean, he
right, like, he kind of lost his mind there towards the end.
I mean, and who wouldn't?
After getting shot a bunch of times,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you get a little annoyed and you turn into a dark person, and unfortunately, we remember Pac more for who he turned into instead of who he actually. And I think who he turned into was a result of who he was rolling with. I mean, this motherfucker was rolling with the biggest, craziest criminal in LA at the time, you know, rapping that blood shit, and then got himself into some trouble because I don't think overall that he knew how much of a problem it would be to be rolling with that guy over a long period of time, right? He became more of a target because of that, and then it was easy once you got all the money and this success, and you got this hard body ass motherfucker backing you up, of course you're gonna go at it with that type of perspective. Why you think a Meek Mill would jump out the gate and go at a Drake? Because he he got a Rick Ross behind him. You know what I'm saying? Even though that didn't really work out that great, but it made sense in terms of, I got these cats behind me. I got Dre and Snoop and OG. Okay, we good. I could do, say, and feel however I want. And people wasn't telling him no. It's like they were enabling him. They were like, oh, here's another gold chain. Here's another bitch. Here's another bottle. Let's live it up, because that's what they were about, right? Like, or specifically Suge, he was about that type of lifestyle. He wasn't about no wholesome lifestyle, really. So you can't imagine that he was a great influence on Pac overall, even though he probably did help his music success at the time. I think Pac would have been successful no matter what. He was already being groomed and making moves to become successful. He just ended up in a place where his talents weren't used, in my opinion, for the best. I mean, because even if you look at Biggie music or listen to it, his music was already more dark and gutter, because his music was always like that. Biggie never had any soft. He was straight from the slums, straight from the slums to the fucking booth. Pac wasn't like that. He was a fucking scholar and shit, man. And that's so it's sad to have to listen to Pac in two ways, right? Like you could still get gems out of that gangster shit he was spitting, but it was almost like it was shallow. Like, and I think that's my problem with Pac over time. No matter how I love his music, it's like it became shallow and it became dark. You know what I'm saying? And he created a toxic environment for himself, and he ended up dead. Whether it was big people or Suge people, or it doesn't matter who killed him. He got killed because I imagine he was no longer in a safe space anymore. He couldn't just do him.
And there was a time where we learned from that, right? Like there was a time where hip hop learned from that, and then you had a whole generation that comes along that don't necessarily know about Pac. They don't understand the impact at all, and in a lot of ways, how could you fully understand the impact if you didn't live there? Like that's like people that didn't live during World War II, right? Like we know what World War II was like from stories, but unless you lived at that time, you can't really understand why it was a big deal.
It's relative.
And it's the same thing.
It's a relative thing.
Relative to what we're talking about. Like with Pac, you know, like you got a generation of people who don't see that, and we haven't been retelling that story. Like
I think it's classic telephone game shit, right? Like as you pass a message along from person to person to person, you lose a piece of it. Especially if, like us, I was watching Dr. Umar the other day. He was talking about if we're not creating institutions and organizations, we're not helping our people. And that's real in a sense. Like, who's responsible for collecting the knowledge for black people and compiling the story of Tupac? Like, we can't let it be some fucking Hollywood ass movie. Like, that's not what it was. So it's like when people were running around talking thug life and all that, I think when the young people received that, they didn't receive it the same way that the initial generation received it. They received it like, oh, this is actual thug life. Like, not the militant 70s protect your community and family vibe. That's all Pac was talking about. You know, Pac wasn't a gangster. I mean, not in that sense. You know what I'm saying? He I don't think he was a bitch, right? Like, I think that was shown in the things he said, in the moves that he made, the way that he moved. Pac didn't move around with a lot of people or nothing like that necessarily. Like, every time people caught him, it was catching him slipping. And in my mind, that just attests to how tough he was. This motherfucker by himself in New York City and on the East Coast, like, anything can happen. He by himself in the studio and getting stretched out. That y'all.
I think he was a pretty fearless dude.
Yeah, like, that's, you know.
And I think that put him at odds with a lot of people. But like you say, man, we only have looked at the thug aspect of Tupac, and we've romanticized that aspect.
Yeah.
And we've forgotten about the other side. So you have, this culture that follows like the Gucci Mans. Like Gucci Man will be the closest to like the street side of Pac, to where like he's always in the news.
But I think even further, Gucci Man is somebody like Pac in the sense like he's gone that extra mile to reform himself. Now he got a freaking best-selling book out. Like he's doing things that probably Pac would have done at some point, right? Like would have like gotten his shit together, really realized how big his brand was, and been like, because don't get me wrong, the little petty shit. Like Gucci was getting into basically cases that were like residuals of his lifestyle, but I think at this point he's not touching none of it. He's way far removed and from that type of culture, especially knowing like he probably ain't really got too many more chances, and he don't really have no need to be involved in that no more. Like there's nothing left for him on that level. Like he needs to be going and hanging out with Jay-Z and Diddy and shit. That's where he's at.
And then I mean we could look in recent years at cats like T.I.
Yeah.
Like T.I. was the biggest rapper and was poised to really do some serious game changer shit.
Well, he did. I think he tapered off, but he's not done. He's not done. He's just.
He's not. He's not poor.
He's not.
But you think about it. You think about the hits he had.
I think he did shorten his career. Like he could have been more Jay-Z type had he not gotten in trouble. But T.I. could drop a record whenever he wants. I think like a lot of artists, when they get to that level, they're no longer enamored with it, especially if they can make money doing other things. Like he talked about, a lot of artists talk about you making 5 times as much for a movie, or 10 or 100 times, whatever. Like it's a ridiculous amount more to do this or to endorse this product and be involved in these different ventures, to where it's like, where do you find time to write a 18-track album that's gonna be competitive with the marketplace, or even a 10-track album that's gonna be worth listening to, especially when you're not focused on music, where you just building that brand that big? I think that's T.I. in a nutshell right there. Like a lot of
fuck that. I need that damn music. I'm waiting for the T.I. album.
You hear that Big Crit album?
Nah, I did see him rapping on one of these radio shows, bro. Like he spit this cold freestyle. That's the closest thing
you're gonna get to anything Dirty South, man. That was like, I'm like, oh man, he got some, he got some of the Dungeon Family on there. He got,
Big Crit is the shit.
That's exactly that album. It's like 20 tracks, but it's still fire most of the way through. And he did his damn thing on there. I mean, like, it's one of my favorite albums of the year. Like, I don't know what other people listening to, but that's what I want to hear. Like when Big Crit drops something, that's like, okay, let me go check that out. And a lot of people have, their reservations about him. He's not very pop, but that's great. I don't want my MC to be pop. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think his music is marketable. I think he could have some pop hits.
It's marketable, but it's not. It's Dirty South music. He's unapologetically Dirty South, right? Like he not trying to make music like Lil Uzi Vert's in them because he could, right? Like he could make a song. He could get on some production. He can go get some Metro Boomin production. Let's go that route, right? Like he can go get a beat from Metro Boomin and hop on that joint and feature like even Uzi. It could be Uzi, but I'm gonna say somebody more obscure. Like he might go and get like an artist like who's a top artist that be more. Go get like a Kanye. So him and Kanye would do a track right over a Metro Boomin beat, and that would be like top.
That
10.
shit would be hard.
Yeah, and it would be like he would be killing.
He created Kanye on Metro Boomin beat.
Yeah. What you think about that? That's what I'm saying. Like he could
be good,
huh?
I don't see how that wouldn't be good, right?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like I think he could do that, but a lot of artists don't necessarily want to do it, right? He's a producer himself, and he's Dirty South, man. He not like Atlanta necessarily, but like, you know, the sound that was there, you know, during the kind of the Houston, Atlanta era, where it was the funk and the soul music mixed into the beats. And then you know, the beats almost sound like some church music. You know what I'm saying?
And so we got two more topics here. We got this Eminem song.
I think we coming up on like 60 minutes. What you want to do?
Well, let's just talk about the Eminem song, and then we'll roll it on and we'll wrap it up.
All right. So, I mean, what is there to say about this song? I mean, we talked about Eminem quite a bit here. He started off, you know, obviously the poster is, you know, you got Eminem on one side, Yachty on the other side as a contrast and whatnot. Not saying that Yachty doesn't want to be lyrical in the future, but he's oftentimes said he doesn't care about it. So obviously that's why that's such the bold comparison there. But this,
could you imagine, bro? That's like a baseball player being like, I know I can't hit, but I don't really care about hitting the ball as long as I could just maybe wear the uniform.
But you gotta think about it. Okay, everybody's job. Sometimes they bring in like the pinch hitter dude for the pitcher, so he could hit the ball for the pitcher. You know about that, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like the pitcher is a pitcher, right? And he plays baseball, but he's not good at it. That's what I'm saying. It's one of those situations where it's like he's deferring to actually swinging the bat because he's better at something else, which is marketing and making fun music for kids.
He should get off the field and fucking coach or something.
I mean, you know.
But anyway, the Eminem song, basically, I was feeling like with the Eminem song that kind of blows away the misconception that the new wave is the Lil Yachty, the Uzis. I mean, this one track that I personally feel like is kind of weird. You know, I know we discussed how there's no beat in the song.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not against the making of this song. Like I said, Beyonce's voice is beautiful. I'm not sure about him tearing up the paper. I see the metaphor or whatnot, or what he's trying to do.
You were very upset about him tearing the paper at the end of the song.
I like Beyonce's voice so much that I don't want to hear nobody tearing up no paper over it. So I think that's where I'm slightly offended at. But then he drops some verses that are really good. You know, he's lyrical.
I mean, the point of the song I get is profound. I feel like the application was a little strange, almost
for Eminem at this stage in the game. For the last few projects, he's dropped this kind of big ballad type song with the R&B. I just wasn't feeling it. I mean, he had some bars on there, but come on, Eminem, you're supposed to be fun, man. Like, this isn't fun. That's not fun, okay? That was some self-loathing on there, a little bit of self-deprecation, like you just talking about how you can't do it, but you just did it though. That's the thing. It's like, when you're the best in the world, don't question if you're the best in the world. Just be the best. Nobody gonna ask you. Like when LeBron go out there and score 40 points every night, and then people debate on whether he's the best in the world, don't matter. He still went and scored 40 points. So go score your 40 points, Eminem. I'm hoping the project will be much better. I know you're gonna have some bars throughout that's gonna excite me for the project, but nah, bro. Like, don't make this song and then, you know, get 11 million or whatever, how many million views, and act like you ain't got fans no more. Like, ain't nobody listening to your music. Like, you not pop culture. Like, it doesn't. You're Eminem. You can fucking. You've done it before. You talk about how you can spit nonsense on a beat and still sell records. That's exactly what's gonna happen, Eminem. Even if you make this song and it's like, I'm not feeling it, it's still successful. That's what happens when you get to the level where you at. So you should stop worrying about it. Don't even think about it no more. What people are saying to you or commenting on about your music, the critics. Just make a diss song about them. This is what you do. And like, I need more. I need Eminem to come back from this whole, solemn place. I'm not saying he needs to do drugs again or kill nobody, but you could fake somebody's murder in a verse. You've done it before, but I think that he has a lot to contribute to the game, and I'm hoping that it's not just this, right? Like, I want some. If he was being political, give me some political rap over this any day of the week. I don't.
It sounds to me like the song made you sad, and you ain't feeling the vibe of the song
because I don't think it's needed. Does he have leukemia?
Like, well, this is how I feel about it. I think it's a bold step for the dude. It's definitely a bold choice. It took some courage to put that out. I don't know if that was his label deciding to put it out like that. It took you got an appalled look on your face.
It took courage to put out a song that you made with Beyonce. No, it took some money to put out a song.
I'm saying the way it's made, like, it's made weird, right? It ain't got no beat. It's just a piano and Beyonce singing on the hook.
Or something like that.
What's that?
I think wasn't Rick Rubin involved in this project or something on this one too?
I didn't even know he had an album until they dropped that shit.
Would be like, we just gonna take the drums out. We're gonna throw everybody off. We're gonna have everybody talking about this song. Just because you're Eminem, you always rap. You rap over drums. Most people rap over drums. We just gonna take your drums. Remember when Joe Budden was like, even Beyonce has drums on her songs. Eminem ain't got no drums on his track. I was fine with it. I was like, he's the king of controversy for a reason. He is stirring up controversy with this. Whether it's good controversy or bad controversy, he understands how to get people talking about his music and getting people engaged. So I think it's ironic, right? Like, the way he's doing it now is different than he did, when he first started. Like, it was originally like you listened to his project to hear who he was going to rip apart. Now it's like, I hope he ain't got no suicide letters on this project. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can agree with you there. Yeah. And just before we wrap it up, I want to just say that, I'm not trying to say that any one style is better than the other and that people should only do lyrical hip hop shit or whatever. I'm just saying that the idea is being perpetuated that you have to do this new wave trap style, auto-tune, all that to get a hit or to make a popular song is not necessarily true, because the biggest selling artists right now, the ones that are doing the best, are not only older artists, they're not this young, because there's also this ageist movement here. They're older artists and they're more lyrical and creative. So that's all I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you on that. I mean, you make the type of music you want to make. I mean, I think, well, you said that earlier, but also I would follow that up with, is lyricism important to hip hop? Yes, absolutely. I don't care what anybody says. You ain't gonna never tell me that an artist that's putting more time into trying to be lyrical, no matter what sound they're on, because let's be clear, it's about the sound that makes people think that the music has changed. It hasn't, though. Just because the beats are different, lyricism and wordplay and rhyming and that stuff is still important. Being musical over these tracks is important, and I think people who put more time into sounding good and being of those elements are gonna have better music. Whether it's hardcore like Eminem or like DMX, you know what I'm saying? Like DMX, most people are gonna say that's a simple rapper, but his music is is very impactful. It's real. It's genuine. It's to the point. It's what he's going through. It's his real life. So, no, I'm not.
DMX had bars. I'm gonna just say that.
Yeah, I mean, he's like most artists of that era, or even just in general, he's trying to be lyrical. Like, that's what I think you should be doing. Like, it shouldn't be this whole half-ass type movement. Like, I'm cool with anybody, right? Like, everybody should have their own perspective on how to do things, but I think it's still important, right? I don't think good songwriting requires vocabulary. That's what I'm gonna say. It doesn't matter what genre it is. It requires you to use your vocabulary and your literary skills to make songs simple or complex. It still requires literary skill.
Definitely. So I guess that's it, right? We wrapping it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty successful first cast. Thank anybody who joined in and listened on the conversation. Hopefully you come back and check out more content, and we'll be
like and subscribe.
Podcast. Yeah, like and subscribe, definitely. And we'll be trying to do this every Friday.
Like and subscribe.
Peace. Subscribe. Later.
I'm Legion D Wise. Just Mr. White.
Mr. White. Yo.